Bienvenue à un autre événement virtuel du Club des Maîtres, présenté par la Monnaie royale canadienne. Une exclusivité du Club des Maîtres, il s'agit de l'émission par excellence pour les numismates. Je suis votre animatrice, Alexandra Lindsay, et je suis en compagnie de Jamie Desrochers, responsable du programme de fidélisation du Club des Maîtres.
Cette émission est le moment fort de mon année. Ça va être tout un épisode. Et oui, nous allons parler de la nouvelle ère que représente l'arrivée de l'effigie de Sa Majesté le roi Charles III pour la monnaie. Nous avons reçu vos nombreuses questions à ce sujet et le moment est enfin venu de vous répondre. Il y a quoi d'autre à l'émission, Alex?
Nous allons jeter un coup d'œil à une nouvelle technologie incroyable. As-tu vu la pièce Allégorie de la paix, Jamie?
Oui, je l'ai vue puis elle est vraiment belle.
Je suis d'accord. Cette sublime œuvre d'art fait appel à une technologie avant-gardiste toute nouvelle à la monnaie. Les plus grands experts nous expliqueront comment cette pièce remarquable a été créée. Une autre exclusivité du Club des Maîtres. Et ce n'est pas tout.
OK, Alex, commençons. Chaque année, la Monnaie royale canadienne organise un sommet de 2 jours pour discuter des produits. C'est une réunion interne qui n'est pas ouverte au public. C'est un moment unique parce que tous nos experts et créateurs se rassemblent au même endroit. Et si on allait voir ce qui se passe? Voici un aperçu en coulisses.
Nous sommes ici, aujourd'hui, au sommet sur les produits et nous nous préparons pour 2024. Avez-vous hâte? À titre de productrice des pièces de monnaie du Canada, la Monnaie est responsable d'assurer un approvisionnement suffisant en pièces partout au pays. La fabrication de nouvelles pièces permet de répondre à la demande actuelle et future et de remplacer les pièces usées ou endommagées. Le gouvernement du Canada a confié à la Monnaie royale canadienne la tâche de créer un nouvel avers permanent qui illustre la transition de la couronne et reflète le règne de Sa Majesté, le roi Charles III. Il s'agit du changement le plus important aux pièces de circulation canadiennes depuis des décennies. En effet, la majorité des Canadiens et des Canadiennes n'ont pas encore été témoins de changement de monarque sur leurs pièces de monnaie. Nous avons 2 invités spéciaux ici aujourd'hui pour nous parler de la plus importante annonce de la monnaie depuis très longtemps, la nouvelle et première effigie de Sa Majesté, le roi Charles III. Enfin, nous pouvons en parler! Mélanie Lewis est la chef de produit derrière la nouvelle effigie. Quant au graveur, Éric Boyer, il s'est chargé de l'exécution artistique et technique de la pièce. Je pense que ce sont les meilleures personnes pour discuter de la nouvelle effigie. Melanie, could you explain what a product manager does here at the Mint?
So a product manager is responsible from the coin production from start to finish. So from the artist brief to actually the final production of the coin.
That is so much fun. I know there was a monumental amount of work to bring this effigy to our coins, and you had to be very meticulous at that. Where do you start with this kind of project? We haven't seen the effigy change since the early 2000s, and this is the first time the Royal Canadian Mint is solely responsible for the effigy of the new monarch. Where did you begin?
So we went to our artist database. We had over 350 artists.
Wow.
It's quite impressive, Canadian artists. And so we had to do a selection process. And from there, we went for art and we asked them to participate in the coin selection process.
Tell us a bit about what it took to create the artwork of the new effigy.
Well, once we narrowed down to the 15 Canadian artists and the 5 engravers, we actually sent them an artist brief. And from there, they created their design to participate in the design selection process. From there, we had an internal Mint employee panel that reviewed every submission, and we looked at them based on the criteria to make sure that we could select one based on those select criteria.
Interesting. I wish I was on that panel. How difficult was it to select the artwork for the coin? With so many artists, it must have been tough to pick just one.
It was very difficult. It was really monumental for the internal panel to review every single coin design because we had to really select the one that was going to be on all coins from the smallest coin to our 5 kilo. So you can imagine that it had to be reviewed for aesthetics, manufacturability. So all of that had to be taken in consideration when we were looking at the final selection for the one that was going to be on our coins for the next few years.
Wow, I can imagine that checklist. It should have been long for who qualified. Wow. Tell us a bit about the portrait itself. Other than a completely different monarch, there are some noticeable differences. Masters Club members love the details, so don't hold back.
So I'm really excited for Canadians to see the portrait because it is, at first glance, when you see it, the biggest change is that the monarch now is facing left. And that's a tradition that we hold, is that every time we have the portrait that faces the opposite side of its predecessor. So you'll see His Majesty is facing left on the coin, and also he is, like his late mother, he is not wearing any regalia. So he's wearing a suit and tie because we wanted to make it a modern effigy.
Interesting. Now make sure to look in your coins to see those differences. Now for you, Eric. Sculpting this coin must have been a huge honor. How did it come to you?
Well, the Mint put a call out to engravers asking us to submit our portrait portfolios. I submitted a Winston Churchill coin I did a few years ago and a king from another country that the Mint is currently working on for a foreign contract. Ultimately, that got me selected and earned me the privilege to do this sculpt.
That is awesome. I'm jealous. Considering this effigy will be featured on several coins, from a dime to a kilo, how did you approach engraving the effigy when you know it will appear on many coins of different sizes?
Right, so it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. That being said, I don't start from scratch for each coin, but we do have to modify the effigy just a bit for, like you said, 10 cent up to a kilo. Right now, I think we have most of our product catalog covered, but certainly in the future, should any new situations come up, I'll work directly with a product engineer and make sure that the effigy strikes well at the press.
That is so cool, just to see the development from a tiny little coin to a big kilo. Now a question for the both of you. What was it like to work on such an important project? Your efforts will be in millions of pockets across Canada and throughout the world for years to come. How do you deal with such a responsibility?
Well, it was a huge honor to be chosen and trusted with this. It did feel a fair bit of pressure. That being said, now that it's out in the wild, it feels like a great relief to see it in everybody's hands, which is a bit of a different concept to someone who's in the visual arts. Usually you hope people gravitate towards your work. Now it's being put in front of them. Hopefully it goes over well.
I'm sure it will. Mel?
It was a true honor to work as a product manager on this historical project. For me, it was a tremendous honor, and also it was nerve-wracking at moments because I was the one receiving just for all of the artist submissions, and for the internal panel to be really unbiased. I had to ensure that we were putting them anonymously. So when they were looking at the submissions, there was no names, no initials on the designs. So I had the big task of hiding all of that from people and making sure that it was secret. So that alone, for me, was a huge thing. And it's an honor, it's a legacy for Canadians, and for me to, I hope that, eventually I'll be able to tell my grandkids that I was part of this project, because it's truly an historical moment and I was really proud to be part of it.
I agree. On behalf of Canadians, thank you for bringing this to fruition. But this is a great segue to my next question. Since the passing of Queen Elizabeth II, the #1 question asked by our Master Club members has been, when are we changing the effigy? How hard was it to keep this secret for such a long time?
Yeah, like I said, it's now a big relief to have it out in the wild and let everyone else see it finally. I spent most of the last few months skirting around people's questions about, hey, how's work going? Working on coins. Now I can finally say, hey, you can actually look at the work I've done.
Same here. It's been busy months, several months, really, really busy since the government announced it on May 6th for me as a product manager. So honestly, it was, like you said, it was so hard to say, what you working on? What's keeping you so busy? Oh, just work stuff. But it's like, well, work can't be that busy, right? So now that it's out in the open, it's a relief, and to be able to to talk about it and say, yes, that's what kept me busy for months. So really happy about it.
I'm sure you'll have stories to tell your friends and family for years to come about this. But on another note, why did it need to be a secret for so long? I'm sure the process of approval is a lengthy one.
It is definitely a lengthy process. All of our coins that we submit, that we actually launch to the public, they need to be approved by the Minister of Finance. But in addition to that, our circulation coins have to be approved by the government, which is the Governing Council. So that alone is a process that takes a bit longer than just having a numismatic product approved by the Minister of Finance. But in addition to that, the biggest thing was that we actually had to submit the design to His Majesty himself, I should say. So that alone was a process that we had to submit to the Office of the Governor General, the OSGG, as we call them. And that, just to have that process was also one that took a bit of time for him to be able to approve his coin.
Wow, look at all those submissions that needed to be signed and approved. That's a complicated process. Well, the secret is out, and I'm so happy you shared this with our Masters Club members. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nous savons que vous aimez les histoires intrigantes derrière la création de nos pièces. Nous aussi. Exclusivement pour le Club des Maîtres, nous allons maintenant vous raconter la conception d'une des plus belles pièces de l'année, l'allégorie de la paix. Cette pièce est déjà épuisée à la Monnaie, mais félicitations à tous ceux et celles qui ont réussi à mettre la main dessus. L'espoir, la paix, la stabilité, ces aspirations universelles ont encore une fois suscité l'innovation. Le résultat est un vibrant hommage aux gardiens et aux gardiennes de la paix mondiale. Faite d'argent pur à 99,99%, cette pièce est rehaussée d'un fini antique avec un disque central orné d'une figure allégorique de la paix en 3D. Celle-ci est finement moulée dans de l'argent pur à 99,9% et plaquée d'or pour un bel effet lustré. Le motif, que l'on peut admirer autant sur l'avers que le revers, symbolise la paix et représente une véritable ode canadienne à toutes les personnes qui veillent à son maintien. La figure ailée qui compose le motif inspire protection et espoir pour l'avenir. Aujourd'hui, au sommet sur les produits, nous recevons l'achète de produits Alicia Cook-Sapine, le graveur Matt Porter et l'ingénieur en recherche Christian Brochu qui nous révéleront les secrets derrière cette pièce. So thank you so much for coming, guys. I appreciate you taking the time out of this busy schedule. I know that you're very busy today. So first off, I wanted to talk to you, Alicia. What came first with this coin? Because I know you've worked a long time, the three of you, on it. What came first? Was it the theme of the allegory piece, or was it the new technology?
So the technology, it was developed first. Yeah. We worked on a coin for over a year that never got to the market, where we developed the high intricate see-through casting piece.
Okay.
And that gave us the learning to this new technology. We had a lot of challenges at the beginning with the breakage of the casting piece, the thickness of the lines. We have holes that get into the casting piece. But all of that we took into consideration to then develop the allegory of piece with this new technology.
So a long process, not only of coins that never were, that never saw the light of day, but you were able to build on that and have something.
Yes, exactly. We took a lot of learnings from that one. It took us a year to get there and then develop that even further.
Also, how hard was it to envision the theme for this incredible technology? Because it is unique technology. Had you seen the samples of the technology beforehand?
This is an R&D coin, so it's the first time that we develop a technology like this one. However, we took inspiration from jewelry, specifically from fine filigree type of jewelry, and we decided to have an allegorical figure as part of this technology, but we were passionate about the idea of creating a coin that resembled a jewelry, but at the same time featuring a very strong and powerful theme as the allegory of peace, especially in these times where we most need it.
Christian, next to you, we understand that you can't give away all the secrets of how you made this coin, but in general terms, could you explain to us how you were able to achieve this technology?
So first and foremost, the teamwork and of course determination. So it was a great experience to work on that project with Alicia and Matt. If I start with the coin itself, the casting of the coin, starting with the artwork, so the art file, we had Matt creating a 3D model, so on a computer, and from that we 3D printed plastic parts. So we're able to look at the casting at the scale of the coin from all angles, and from that step we started on the casting testing. So I don't know if we have time to get a bit into...
I love to hear all the details, so whatever you're willing to share with me. So from that 3D print, the plastic sort of version of it, you were able to make an actual casting from there? Or?
So the casting, so we use lost wax casting to produce the casting. So how that works, we could 3D print the wax or mold the wax, and from that wax, we use that wax to put in a container, and we pour plaster, so liquid plaster in that container. And when the plaster cured, we then burn the wax in an oven, and we can then pour the silver in that mold. So that's how we create the casting.
Oh, that's really cool. I love those little details, and I know everybody loves it at home too. So.
And last but not least, we have to do a finishing on the casting, because when it's removed when we remove it from the mold, it's dirty and matte. So we had to finish that by hand, which create a unique casting every time. So every coin is unique.
So you're saying every single one of these was treated by hand? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
They are all finished by hand.
So for those people at home that actually got these, like, that's a note that every single one has slight variances, I guess, to a certain degree, right?
Yeah, they're all different. And to quickly touch about the assembly, so we did brainstorming to gather ideas, and we mostly use the same principle. So we 3D model or create our model on a computer, and after that create a plastic part, look at the assembly, and pick the best one to achieve that awesome coin.
It's incredible. The three of you worked so hard on this. So Alicia, back to you. I'm always impressed with how the product development team comes up with ideas for new coins. It's always impressive. What inspired you for the art direction on this coin specifically?
On this one, we got the main inspiration from the National War Memorial Monument in Ottawa, where at the top we have two allegorical figures. There is one allegorical figure for peace, and that's the one that we wanted to have as part of the coin. We wanted to honor all of those that have served our country and the world in times of peace and striving peace around the world, and that was our main inspiration for this one.
Yeah. So, and it's a monument that's been there since the 1930s, I think. And is it an exact duplicate of it, or?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's not to be a replica. It's not meant to be a replica. It's inspired by it. So we gave the direction to the artist to create a piece that got inspiration from that allegorical figure, but it was unique at the same time. So we got the main elements like the wreath at the top, the wings on the figure, but it's not the same allegory.
So inspired, you had the gist of it, the feeling of it, but not the exact same thing.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that. No, and it always makes it's a unique piece, right? It's not an exact duplicate. So I know Rebecca Yanevskaya is a longtime artist at the Mint. She's worked with us a long time. Her work's stunning. It always was, very detailed, and it's perfect for coins. In the past, we've seen her coins on several different coins. I think probably most notably the 2017 proof dollar, which had an allegorical figure on it as well. Is that why you picked her as an artist?
We opened the competition to 3 artists, and they submitted their designs for the submission, and the 3 were fantastic. But Rebecca's artwork stood out because she took more of a classical approach to it, whereas the other ones were more modern. And she got inspiration from 19th century statues, and that really resonated well with the theme. And she also has a very unique style. She uses ballpoint pen to create her creations, and he's kind of like marble-like finish, which is really nice to see.
That's beautiful. Like, and her artwork is always, it looks like a sculpture, like, you know, so it must lend itself a little bit.
So she created that by hand, and then she submitted the raw for feedback, and then developed the iterations based on the direction we were given.
Oh, that's cool. And what a problem to have. A lot of folks at home don't know that every one of our coins has a coin competition. So we open it up to artists, and what a problem to have would have 3 great designs that you have to choose from. It's always difficult, but at the same time, you know, it makes it more interesting, right? So
yes, they were all very talented, and for sure it's a difficult decision to make. It's
always a hard choice, yeah. So how did the artwork for this coin specifically differ from our usual coins?
This is very different because the artwork itself, it needed to be created in a dimensional way, and it's 360 degrees. So the artwork that Rebecca submitted was a 2D design, and then Potter had to transform that artwork in a 3-dimensional way. So we needed to think in all of the angles on how that continuation of the rivers to the uppers will look like, and having to think of the flow, for example, of the ropes. If she was holding the wreath on the right hand, then when you rotated the coin, it needed to be seen the opposite side. And it's very unique. It also has an intricate see-through casting piece that is done with pure silver. And most of our casting are not done with that level of purity, so that made even more difficult to produce because it was a softer kind of silver, and we encountered several challenges keeping the form. So that's one of the things that make this coin very unique.
Yeah, and the fact that you had to have art on both sides, it's you know, it's a stretch from what you're usually used to, right? So yeah. Matt, we haven't forgotten about you. You're very important in this because you're the engraver, and you made the magic happen for this. So you had the lion's share of work on this coin, I'd say probably. It's not just any coin, it's a sculpture in itself. It's very different. I know you've had some experience sculpting 3D coins in the past. For example, you sculpted the Superman statuette coin, right? In 2018. So, and that's a beautiful coin, and I know you and I worked on that years ago. So how did you approach sculpting this one specifically?
It's roughly the same. Like I took, like in 3D Studio Max and ZBrush, you work within clay, but on the computer. So I took the same idea, like a ball, stretch it out in each little way to make the shapes I needed. Yeah. So I made the wings, and I made each little feather on the wing. I made like a globe. And the way I made the globe was, I used a sphere, but then I kind of flattened it out. Right. And then I put like a texture of a mat that I found, and I kind of used that, and then I put it back into a ball.
So you're deconstructing everything, putting it back together, not unlike sculpting with clay to a certain degree, right? So
you kind of are kind of sculpting in clay, but on the computer with a pen. So
like just your years of experience in sculpting, and it brought you to this moment, right, where you're able to make this happen and help them out. Yeah. I want to know, what was the toughest part of this coin to engrave?
The wings.
The wings, yeah. And because like you were saying, every single feather you did, right? So
and the fabric flow.
Okay.
When you look at the actual image I was giving, it looked very nice, but trying to replicate that in 3D space is very hard. So I had to kind of use my intuition of my past and try to make it look the best I could.
If you rotate the coin, when you get to the certain angle, he needs to think how that interaction between the front and the back would look like on the angle on the side.
So it's not with traditional coins. It's always, you know, the reverse. We're looking at the reverse. This one you had to think of every single angle and make sure that it looked good.
Most of the coins we do is just 2.5D. We don't do the full 3D.
That's true, yeah. So in general, like, you did a bang-up job on it. One of my favorite coins of the year. Don't tell anybody. And Christian, I'm going to come back to you. You and your team had your work cut out for this one. It was a tough endeavor. So congratulations on this feat of engineering. What was the most challenging aspect of engineering on this coin?
So it was actually a really challenging project.
Yeah.
The casting and the assembly were challenging. So if I start with the assembly, so we had to deal with, so our coins are really precise actually, but the casting is not. So the variation on the casting could be approximately 1 millimeter. So we had to find a concept that would accommodate for that variation. So we were looking at something that will not create a gap with the smallest casting. It will not create interference or not being possible to put the casting inside of the coin. So that part was really challenging. And that was the first time that we had to embed a large casting in a coin ring. And the casting is challenging because fine silver is really hard to cast. It's a soft material, so it was hard to find the right balance of detail versus robustness on the product. And because everything is finished by hand, so we don't want to bend the feature on the casting.
Alicia, this one is sold out very quickly, so we know that. Maybe a little bit of a spoiler for your future. Do you think it's the end of this technology, or maybe there's a chance we'll see it again?
Well, this coin was very successful. We were very happy with the results and the feedback that we got from customers. There are 2 allegorical figures at the top of the National War Memorial in Ottawa, so who knows? Oh, stay tuned.
I'll take that. I'll take that. So, guys, I can't thank you enough for joining us, and our Masters Club members are very happy that you joined us as well. So thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of the summit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Voilà qui conclut un autre superbe événement. Un gros merci à tous les membres du Club des Maîtres qui étaient des nôtres. Nous invitons tous les membres qui ont écouté l'enregistrement de nous rejoindre en direct la prochaine fois. Ce sera votre chance de voir encore plus le contenu et d'avoir les réponses à vos questions en temps réel. Au plaisir de vous compter parmi nous au prochain événement virtuel du Club des Maîtres.
À la prochaine!